Hello and welcome back to Richie's Room. I'm Richie, and this is my room. So this is a video for an 80s, 90s style horror movie arcade. But what you're probably asking yourself, along with your obvious curiosity and wonder, is why? So while I measure the spot for the arcade and paint and assemble this model in traditional 80s and 90s movie montage fashion, I'll explain. I've always been a horror movie fan, even though those pink-headed juggling creatures from Labyrinth were nightmare fuel for me when I was a kid, and that wasn't even a horror movie. But I remember while everybody else were going to see conventional nerd movies, comedies, or dramas, I was sneaking in to see the most controversial, heart-pounding fright films in the theater that week first. And I didn't have the luxury to pay off some homeless guy to buy the tickets for me. I needed to buy a ticket for a crappy movie and then take the chance that no one was going to see me sneak in to see something very, very horrific and inappropriate for my age. Among some of my favorite horror movie franchises are, of course, the standard foundation of any gruesome gore-fest fright film collection. And that's Evil Dead, which is why I chose this specific theme for one of the arcade rooms to reflect my love for this particular property. As you can see, I made the carpet out of the Necronomicon t-shirt that I bought that didn't look good on me at all, and just makes you want to scream Klaatu, Barata, Neca. I bought a deer toy, sawed off its head like the butt of a 2-barrel shotgun, and eviled it up for my wall. And I took out the inserts that came with the DVDs and glued them to the wall like posters, which you will notice is a common theme throughout the video. You know, I just knew when I saw this 25-cent insert coin t-shirt, I just needed it for the carpet of the main arcade floor. It was just too perfect. That with a lot more DVD inserts and scary movie stickers. You might be saying to yourself, damn, that's a lot of stickers. And to that I say, yes, it is a lot of stickers, but it was the 80s and the 90s. Leaving wall space to an 80s, 90s kid was just as wasteful as leaving food on your plate as an adult. Don't you know they're starving in China? If you were a boy, it was all posters of movies, Bruce Lee, wrestling, comics, and fancy cars with half-naked girls laying across the hood. And if you were a girl, every page of your teen magazines, including the articles of the New Kids on the Block's favorite foods, were on that wall also. These are just old popsicle sticks that I saved to use for something, just because they look too cool to throw out. And I knew they would come in handy. And so when the idea came to make a few guardrails and a ladder, it was just too good to resist. The original design of the arcade didn't even have this platform at first, but then a box came with an action figure order and gave me the idea, which also gave me the idea for the lower level lounge area for parties. The only obstacle was finding the right accessories, but thanks to my own Buffy toys, and thanks to some friends, I got those items along with some cool furniture. Speaking of accessories, this TV is from the Halloween 3 action figure set that I bought from the comic book store, which came with 3 of the kids and their Halloween masks and bags. I wish a Tom Atkins figure also came with the set, because along with Halloween 3, Creepshow was also a very underrated horror movie that I loved, in which he played the cop. Here's a great medieval looking door to put in the corner. Ooh, maybe I'll have a dead-eyed employee coming through here and scaring the customers. The question is though, which one of my figures could pass off as a deadite? As you saw in my last video, I had an unboxing of some Nightmare on Elm Street accessories, and this was one of them. The big green worm was way too big for this spot, but this Freddy TV is perfect for this diorama.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Oh, Freddy. That is such an inappropriate thing to say. Do you have to speak so crudely when you're killing people? And we've got a Terminator statue over here for the aesthetic. I want this arcade to have mucho personality. And a door for the opening. Kudos if you know what the bronze is. Where did this come from? And time to introduce some of that furniture I was talking about before with some more stickers. A lot more stickers. And if you still think this is tacky, it may be a thumb tacky to hang the posters. But no, I'm telling you that, okay, it is tacky. There's no excuse for that. But this is how it would look. Even now, sports bars and TGI Friday type of places love throwing a whole bunch of junk on the wall. And people love it. Hoarding is the new subtlety. If you're wondering why Pepsi and not Coke, it's because, well, it's the choice of a new generation, of course. But I also had a survey done among friends, and although close, Pepsi won. Where the hell is the Final Girl Scream Queen action figure set? What a travesty! Heather Langenkamp, Jamie Lee Curtis, Barbara Crampton, Danielle Harris, Linnea Quigley, Kelly Maroney, and seriously, so many more. Come on guys, get with it. Here's another great prop from Pan's Labyrinth. Ophelia and the Pale Man action figures have already a place on my shelf. Here's the key. And her book will be on the bookshelf yet to come. And these are basically just props to give my 80s and 90s horror movie arcade additional personality. A pumpkin here, a genie lamp there. Some potions, a candle, and of course, the Thing! Coming out of a petri dish that came with my Kurt Russell action figure. I still want a Jack Burton figure though from Big Trouble in Little China. I want a whole set of Big Trouble in Little China action figures, but the toy industry still hasn't caught up to all of my desires quite yet. I do have a Nada named Roddy Piper from They Live action figure coming, so that's exciting. Something about book miniatures I just really like, and so this was a must. And somewhere stuck in there is the Pan's Labyrinth book I was talking about. Ophelia's book. And of course, I needed a fireplace and a recorder to go with the horror theme. I wish it would actually play the recording, the words of the Necronomicon on it. That would be really, really cool. Speaking of which, Booyah! Perfect for a center display in the middle of the Evil Dead themed section. And if anybody touches it, they get chainsawed by Vengeance Demon Anyanka from Buffy. Perfect Deadite. Perfect. Well, enough casual rhetoric, and let's get down to business. Why an 80s, 90s horror arcade miniature? The horror part was hopefully already answered because of my own overwhelming love for the genre. Whether it's Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Pumpkinhead, Jeepers Creepers, Aliens, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scream, zombies, ghosts, dogs and cats living together. It's just the thing that excites me and makes me feel alive, watching other people get, deleted. The 80s and 90s were the peak of excellence in regard to all entertainment as far as I'm concerned. Generally speaking, comic book and game movies have definitely come a long way and become much better than they were back in the day. But upon the foundation of nostalgia of the decades before, and this is where arcades were at their peak of excellence before they were shut down for obsolescence. When I was a kid, I entered the arcade every day after school and then again on the weekends. I starved myself so I could save my lunch money and played 4 games I knew I could beat with $1 each. $1, 4 games for maximum pleasure. Double Dragon, Donkey Kong, Galaga, and Kung Fu Master. There was also Spy Hunter 2, but unfortunately I couldn't get a game for that. And on the weekends, I expanded my horizon with Ghosts and Goblins and Tetris. That I was never able to beat, but came close numerous times. I was distracted by the smell of piping hot crinkle fries from the cafeteria section that called me away like a cartoon smell, pulling me by the nose, floating me over to the red and white striped paper basket and tiny red fork, so you didn't scorch your hands before you scorched your tongue. And boy, were they delicious. But as soon as Street Fighter was introduced, like Metallica so eloquently sang, nothing else matters. And I'm sure the song was about Street Fighter. I had to learn all the moves and defeat everybody that got in my way from achieving victory with every character so I could see all of their endings. And I cheesed the mac out of everybody faster than Chester Cheetah fighting Chuck E. Cheese for the rights to the Cheesecake Factory. And then when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, my loyalties were divided and tearing me apart. Part 1 was great, but the hype for Street Fighter 2 could only be rivaled by Mortal Kombat 2. Coincidentally, I chose Street Fighter over MK, but it beat Street Fighter in popularity by a landslide. Afterwards, after all the excitement and competition died down, the gamers much rather play in the comfort of their own homes with new advancing interacting technologies and options than a grungy, dark bootleg arcade. I get it, but I stayed to the very end, playing games like X-Men, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, WrestleFest, and Simpsons just to play, but not to win. I found new enjoyment just by playing and savoring the moment. There was no winning this battle. The doors were closing, and the time of the 80s, 90s arcade were done. Until now.